G2A has always been a rather shady store. I think someone dubbed it as the eBay of video game store, and I don't think there's a more apt description other than that. You know how eBay usually sell used goods for cheaper prices, and that paying for them would only benefit the sellers of the product instead of the developers or the publishers? G2A is basically that, except instead of selling used goods, they sell used game keys that were obtained through methods with varying degrees of shadiness. So before we get to a recent hoopla involving G2A, I think I should provide you guys some background in how this website works. Here's an article from Citizen Journal, and let me sum it up. G2A, if you guys don't know, is a gray online marketplace for video game keys. They manage to sell their keys pretty cheap thanks to the sellers buying the keys in bulk from, say, Steam sales, or buying them from regions where they sell the game at a much cheaper price, and then reselling them at a slightly or much higher price. Some of the resellers even negotiate with the game developers to secure special prices for bulk key purchases. The problem with this is that this is open to exploitation, and one of the people who exploited this is a hacker from Brazil that managed to exploit Manga Gamer. How it works is that the hacker uses stolen credit cards and buying the games in bulk using different accounts. The hacker apparently didn't use a VPN or move to a different location for every purchase, so Manga Gamer is able to identify that the person is buying the same game 30 times from the same IP address. And keep in mind that these are bought using stolen credit cards, which means that the hacker loses no money when buying these games. When Manga Gamer tried to contact their payment processors that these games are bought using stolen credit cards, the payment processors realized that and issued chargebacks to Manga Gamer. If you guys don't know, chargebacks are essentially forced refunds by the payment processor to the merchant, in this case, Manga Gamer. If there are 1,000 stolen keys, Manga Gamer can lose up to $30,000 from chargebacks. The chargebacks happen so frequently that their payment processor dropped them entirely, and they are forced to find a new payment processor for 2 months, causing them to hold off on their pre-orders, putting everything that they have in schedule on hold, and losing thousands and thousands of dollars. Surprisingly, the hacker didn't get profit from the chargebacks. Instead, they got profit from reselling the games from key resellers such as G2A. The hacker managed to profit $500, but that subsequently resulted in a significant damage to Manga Gamer's business at that time, which is around 2016. This is a prime example in how, not G2A actually, hackers using stolen credit cards can significantly affect the business of a niche company like Manga Gamer. In this entire thing, G2A and many other key resellers out there are merely accessories that contribute into the profit of those who steal those keys. We're not even going to the really bizarre but unfortunately believable methods like posing as an internet personality to get free keys. But then again, eBay scams are a thing as well, so this shouldn't really be a surprise for a market with regular everyday people as their sellers rather than official stores. They are legit in the same way eBay is legit. Selling the product itself and you buying the products are not illegal, but where the sellers acquire the products is highly questionable at best, which is why it's more of a gray market rather than a completely black one. Except unlike eBay, these video game keys are not physical goods, which means that stealing them is a lot easier than, say, PC parts. As time went on, many preventative measures have been done to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't happen again, or at least attempts to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't happen again. There are many times where you can get really cheap deals in Humble Bundle, for example, and that's where a lot of key resellers get their keys from, but Humble devs are doing their best to prevent this sort of stuff, using machine learning, anti-abuse system, and adding more and more layers of verification, which is annoying for convenience, but necessary for security. And hey, it works apparently. As for G2A, well, they have added additional verification layers for their resellers, but the problem comes with their G2A Shield subscription that either costs €1 per month or €3 per individual game purchase, promising features that should have been given by default, frankly. But this isn't really about G2A's previous antics. This is about their recent antics and why they got into the spotlight once again, just to remind people that this service sucks. So there was a game developer of a game called Descenders named Mike Rose, who went onto Twitter to talk about how G2A has their ads put on Google. The first thing that came up was G2A, and the developer tried his hardest to not show ads from G2A through his Google with no success. It's to the point where the developer straight up beg people just to pirate the games so that G2A doesn't get any money. Can I blame him? Not really. From that point on, his tweets become even more interesting as G2A did their best to damage control the entire thing. Thomas Foss, a writer for gaming outlet Indie Game Plus, received an email from G2A, and the email is freaking hilarious that I think I need to read it to you guys fully.
My name is Adrian and I represent a global digital marketplace called G2A.com. Our company is one of the biggest and most popular trading platforms in the world. It is a place where buyers and sellers of games and other digital and physical goods meet to make transactions. I am contacting you because I think your website matches our interests perfectly, and we would like to find out more about publishing and advertising opportunities that you can offer.
Just on the first paragraph alone, I am snickering in excitement. How are you going to dodge this entire hoopla, G2A?
At the moment, we are trying to improve our brand awareness and public image, especially amongst the indie and smaller game developers.
Gee, I wonder why. Is it because your website resells game keys and the money would in no way go to game developers and that they can potentially be acquired by hackers who use stolen credit cards, abusing the system and costing game developers thousands and thousands of dollars? Nah, it has to be the false rumors going around for the past few years. It's just the haters who want to gain attention by talking about all this. No, seriously, that's their actual excuse.
Unfortunately, the majority of public does not understand either our business model or how
Yes, they do. I explained that in the past few minutes, and I think most of you who are listening or watching this video know how the business model works. And no, G2A, the issue isn't in making sure that the customers can safely purchase digital goods, because for the most part, they're gonna get their games just fine. For the most part. We'll get to that in a bit. The issue is your lack of security and verification to prove that the sellers are actually legit. And frankly, this email itself is a huge issue.
We have written an unbiased article about how selling stolen keys on gaming marketplaces is pretty much impossible, and we want to publish it on your website without being marketed as sponsored or marketed as associated with G2A.
An unbiased article. G2A investigated G2A and found that G2A did nothing wrong. Yes, my friend, I sense no bias here. And talk about unethical, G2A. You want to publish the article to an outlet's website, an unbiased article that paints G2A in a positive light without being marked as sponsored or associated with G2A, as in lie? This is one of the most hilarious attempts at damage control I have ever seen. If it's an unbiased article, why can't you just publish it yourself and let the truth speak for itself? If you have to tell these outlets that you have to lie to their readers to prove that you're not guilty, then you probably are guilty. I love that you claim that this is a transparent and just review of the problem. I have no idea what has come into the mind of this freaking dumbass on thinking that contacting an indie game outlet and asking them to straight up lie would repair their reputation. But we're not done yet. When they got busted on this really stupid hoopla, they responded by saying that it was caused by some rogue employee. That's right, it was some rogue employee that in no way represents us, and he will face strict consequences, as this is absolutely unacceptable. We apologize for this and the 9 other media outlets that he sent this proposal to. My lord. But of course it was the work of some rogue employee. Sure, G2A, I believe you. In the meantime, allow me to press this X button repeatedly. But we're not done yet. The developer of Descenders posted a really interesting thread in how the keys for his game got acquired. To put it simply, some of the resellers acquired them from Steam gifts, so they're not even keys, they're just Steam gifts being given to you through very dodgy links. Will G2A do anything about this? The game developer said, of course they won't. But we are not done yet. The sellers are using bots and sending Steam gifts to people through questionable links. And guess what? That goes against Steam's terms of services. In fact, Steam's terms of services prohibits selling games acquired from cheaper regions to be resold into another region. All of this is facilitated by G2A. There is a petition made by Mike, and at the time of this video, it has around 4,000 signatures. You might want to sign that up too if you want to make sure that this sort of nonsense doesn't happen. And for the final nail in the coffin, G2A is straight up ignorant on this entire issue. So they posted an entire blog responding to Mike Rose and many other developers, vowing to pay devs 10 times the money proven to be lost on chargebacks. They put a teal deer version on the blog, and one of the points is G2A comparing themselves to sites like Amazon or eBay. okay, only half of that is true, G2A. I also don't know why any indie game developers would sign up to their G2A Direct program, a program that gives cuts to game developers to game keys sold by resellers, which is basically like gaining a cut from the thieves who rob your bank. But beyond that, Mike is being a straight up savage throughout this entire thing. To sum up his response, the game Descender sold 226 copies on G2A, but one single person sold 45% of those. In fact, 85% of the keys were sold by 3 people. Isn't that interesting? Where do you think these keys are coming from? Is it from bots that give dodgy Steam gift links that might contain virus? Or is it from stolen credit cards being used to buy games at a cheaper price on cheaper regions? I don't know, G2A. You tell me. I love how in the article, G2A is like, only 8% of games sold through G2A are indie games, and therefore screwing them is perfectly fine, right? And to close this level of ignorance, we have an even more astonishing level of ignorance. Here's an excerpt from their recent update on the previous response, and the excerpt contains a paragraph that would pretty much boil anyone's blood.
Some developers cannot accept the fact that people have full rights to resell things they own. It's a problem for those developers, but not for us or anyone else, and certainly not for gamers who have access to cheaper products, games included, thanks to marketplaces such as G2A.
Wow. I mean, wow. And I thought G2A was just straight up shady when they sell keys from stolen credit cards. The absolute nail to the coffin on this entire issue is their unrelenting ignorance towards game developers and how this business model absolutely hurts them. Yes, they do hurt the big publishers as well, which is why they're keen on disabling the keys coming from the resellers if found, but it also hurts the smaller developers, and that's the scummiest part of this entire thing. So how about you, the customers? If you're looking to save some money and spite the developers or publishers that you don't like, is it perfectly safe to buy games from G2A? No. Actually, technically kind of, but even then, I'd still say no. For the most part, you can buy these keys from these resellers and they might work just fine, but there is a risk that you're buying the key through stolen credit cards, and if found, the game developers or publishers can just disable your keys, as I've shown to you earlier, preventing you from playing the game at all. For the most part, it works just fine. It's just that there will be some risk doing it, the same way there will be some risk using Windows keys on the gray market. Linus talked about that on his Tech Quickie video. But even so, I highly recommend staying away from these key resellers. Many people have warned to stay away from them for years now, and this event should be a reminder in why you should avoid them. I want you all to know that video games are entertainment, and they are luxury products. They're less necessary to your life compared to your bills, your surmounting debt, your taxes, your food, Oh, I'm sorry, is that too depressing a thought? What I'm saying is, if you want to get a good deal, there's nothing wrong with putting them on your wish list and waiting for Steam to notify you about a deal. It's just that buying these games from these key resellers like G2A would only incentivize them to provide platforms for shady resellers that got their games through stolen credit cards. I don't even recommend doing it to spite the big and shady developers or publishers, because the platform itself also hurts smaller developers and costing them thousands of dollars. Not directly, sure, but they're not helping matters at all, don't they? I suppose I'm gonna end this video by a point brought up by Linus, or technically John, in their Windows Keys Tech Wiki video. It all depends on whether or not you want your money to get to Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, Activision Blizzard, etc., or credit card stealers and hackers who use bots and give dodgy links that lead to Steam gifts to people. That is a dilemma that I'm going to leave you guys to ponder. Support the devs and publishers who deserve it, and don't support those who don't deserve it. And if they are truly scummy, this is one of the few times where sailing through the high seas is a good suggestion.